Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Palais, Josh Palais, and Mario Heron. Exciting day. Chargers, they win again. How about that? Chargers win 31-10 over the Los Angeles Rams. There you go. They win the big battle of LA. Dean Spanos has been waiting a long time for this, and today's the day it actually happened. Chargers actually win, though, no joke, as they have this winning streak put together, guys, 4 in a row. And then next week, of course, they're headed off to take on the Broncos. Said it a few weeks ago. Look, this team could ride a 5-game winning streak headed into the postseason. And right now, they're getting healthy. They never looked better. First impressions, guys. What did you think about today's game?
First impression is this team is a top team in the NFL. Nobody wants to face the LA Chargers, and that's not being biased. That's actually true. I was listening to a couple other games, and they said the same thing. The Chargers are getting healthy at the right time. They're playing well together at the right time. And they're right there as the hottest team in the NFL at the right time.
I agree with Josh. This is the perfect time for the Chargers. Again, right at the perfect time. 31-10, the most complete game they've played all year. I think this is probably the first game where the offense showed up and the defense. You held the Rams to 10 points. You scored 31. I don't care if Baker Mayfield was back there. That's a Sean McVay offense. You just held to 10 points. And they scored in the freaking third quarter. We got a long run, like so many things that they haven't done all year, they did today. Perfect thing to build off of. And if you're not a believer in the Los Angeles Chargers, I think after today, you are 100% a believer in the Los Angeles Chargers and what they can do.
Couldn't agree with you more. At the same time, we have basically applauded what has gone on with the Cincinnati Bengals and how dangerous they are. And we always do the comparisons about the Bengals and the Rams and teams with the weapons and teams with quarterbacks that are young, that are moving in the right direction. When people look at this Charger team from across the country, do you think they're looking at this Charger team going, you know what, they are the dangerous team we're talking about? Or do you think they're one of those teams people haven't really paid attention to because, again, it's a West Coast team and the Super Bowl champs are in the same market? So many different reasons why that. For instance, I'm thinking the games that were on today at the same time against the Chargers, you had Raiders, Niners. I still would pick the Charger game, but you had the Packers and you had the Vikings. And you had so many people across the country that I think still paying attention to that game, even though that one turned into a blowout. You're watching that rivalry of the Packers and Vikings. I don't know how many people across the country paid attention to what happened today in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think people outside of California watched this game today. But when you see it across the bottom scroll, Chargers win by so much over the Rams, has to catch your attention because you know what the Rams did to the Broncos last week. So if you're doing a power rankings, you cannot forget the Chargers in the top 7, I'd say right now. They're actually a team that I think deserves to be there. This kind of reminds me of when the Chargers were 14-2, and you're thinking, this team's pretty complete. Kyle Van Noy, a guy that we thought kind of lost it at the beginning of the year, he's been balling lately. It seems like the offensive line's really coming together. And the defensive pass rush, the rush defense, is bad. That's the only part of the team I'd say is legit bad on the Chargers. Cam Akers got whatever he needed. But besides that, this team is playing well together. And teams might forget them because they're the Chargers. That's just the nature of being a Charger fan. But overall, the Chargers are one of the most complete teams in the league. And I think other people are starting to take notice as well.
You mentioned Van Noy playing great. 4 straight games with a sack, and he had a strip sack today. That guy's playing a whole different level. You have Michael Davis, who is literally what we wanted J.C. Jackson to be this year. Step up in a huge, huge role. He has, I think he got his 13th pass deflection since week 9, and that's most in the league by far. I do think this game got lost in the shuffle. I think the storyline when you turn on any big news outlet tomorrow is going to be the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is back. Here come the cheeseheads. That's what's going to be the storyline. Kirk Cousins blew it. I think that's going to be like the big one. And then I think on the bottom here, people are going to see the score and go, wow, big dominant win by the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers have had this dominant of a win all year. I mean, even against, the Texans and, the Browns come back on them. So huge statement win, but yeah, this definitely got lost in the shuffle, especially with the other games going on today. And plus the games that still have to be played. I mean, the Ravens, Steelers is going to be a good game. That means a lot to us. And then you have Bengals, Bills tomorrow, which again means a lot to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these games are really important, the ones that are coming up as far as we do the show right now. It's right after the Chargers win 31-10 over the Rams. We're waiting for Sunday Night Football. And, of course, as you mentioned, Monday Night Football as well, which will be an exciting matchup. these are important games because it's hard for me to keep track. I'll be honest with you on the playoff picture, and then I'm trying to follow everywhere I can on how all the different scenarios are breaking out. I mean, it's amazing how you add that 17th game, and it has changed so many things. And not only do you add, the 17 games, but you add one more playoff team, and things are all over the place from what we thought they were just a few weeks ago. I mean, a few weeks ago, the Titans were a lock to go into the playoffs. The Dolphins were a lock to go into the playoffs. The Eagles were a lock for the number one seed, right? And then all of a sudden things are changing like crazy. So Mario, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the outcome is if the Ravens lose one of their next two games, the Chargers now change places of what seed they possibly are. Meaning instead of the Chargers going on the road to take on Cincinnati, the Chargers would go on the road to take on Jacksonville or Tennessee, depending who wins next week.
Yeah, that's true. They're mentioning in the game today, like that is such a big difference than facing, Cincinnati possibly at 3 or, a AFC South team. Like I know we talked about Jags and if you want to play them or not, but dude, that is the percentage of you making it out of the first round between that is humongous. And just the difference in quarterback play. Oh my God. Going from Ryan Tannehill or Trevor, well, not even Tannehill. What, Malik Willis or not even
Joshua Dobbs.
Joshua Dobbs. Or Joe Burrow. Like that's a jump right there. That's a pretty big gap, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's a huge difference right there. And Josh, tell me from the entertainment standpoint, am I wrong when if I'm the NFL, I'm hoping it plays out that way because the longer I can keep two exciting young quarterbacks, meaning Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow in the playoff picture, the better the TV ratings are. I mean, people want to see points and they want to see excitement. They want to see the young guys, the new stars, the new generation that's coming around. If you can keep those guys around possibly a few weeks instead of having one of them eliminated in week 1, I think it does matter to the NFL.
I would love to see Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert kind of be what Peyton Manning and Tom Brady was, where it's the two top dogs in the AFC facing off against each other. The only difference between then and now is you got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. The AFC is so stacked with quarterbacks. It's hard to get two guys to pit against each other every year in the playoffs. But I agree with you. If I'm the NFL, I absolutely want Joe Burrow to go against Justin Herbert, and I want Josh Allen to go against Patrick Mahomes. Create some rivalries within the conference, and that's what the fans want to see.
Yeah, it's one of those, again, playoff time is so exciting. It's amazing how some of these teams have picked it up. Again, for the Chargers, and thank goodness we're the ones doing the Bolt City podcast, that for the Chargers, they're getting healthy right now. They're looking at potentially a 5-game winning streak heading into the postseason. They couldn't be hotter, whereas certain teams have gone completely the other direction. I mean, who would have thought even, guys, a few weeks ago, you'd be concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles and the health of Jalen Hurts and how they can't seem to look anywhere close to what they were when Hurts is on the field and when he's not. And a lot of that has to do with defensive falling apart, which is bizarre. It should not affect the defense on the Eagles side when Jalen Hurts doesn't play, but yet the Eagles defense looks terrible all of a sudden. They look terrible against the Saints. They look terrible against the Cowboys. And you go, okay, who is the number one team? The Chiefs right now have a chance of being the number one seed overall, and the Bills will fall back. And so we thought, hey, it was the Bills. Everything goes through Buffalo. Well, that's not the case. It looks like almost the old days where everything's going to go through KC. It is extremely exciting. I'm so glad that the Chargers are actually part of this dance and that to find out what the outcome is going to be. But right now, if you're Tom Telesco, you're Brandon Staley, you're anyone associated with the Chargers, you're going, this is a scenario that we couldn't be happier about, especially the way things were going where we're kind of hit and miss every single week.
Let me ask you guys a question. Today, it seemed like Austin Eckler could get whatever he wanted. He averaged 12 yards per rush. Chargers as a team averaged 6 yards per rush, and that's when we put in our backups at the end of the game. We're still running all over the Rams. The Rams on the other side, they too averaged 6 yards per rush. They kind of got whatever they wanted as well. Does it concern you, Mario, going into the playoffs that we still cannot stop the run?
Yes, because that's a very good way to keep Herbert on the bench and to keep him sitting is to really drain that clock. And let's just say we get the Bengals. That's Joe Mixon in the backfield. That's pretty solid. If we get, Jacksonville, that's Travis Etienne. If we get Tennessee, that's Derrick Henry. And, Derrick Henry's not healthy, but something tells me he's going to get something in him there in the playoffs. And he's going to be feeling fine and actually not feeling any pain at all until like 4 hours after the game. So he's going to be okay. So that part of it does worry me. It was a weird thing today because the past couple of weeks, it seems like they were starting to kind of figure out the run game. And with Bosa being back, I was like, hey, maybe this is the game where we really see that part kind of change. But Cam Akers was running like a madman. And to that part too, if I want to play devil's advocate or just really look on the positive side, I can just say, well, this is a offense ran by one of the best offensive minds in the league who knows the defensive coordinator really, really well. So his schemes in the run game were going to be 10 times better than other coaches because of that. So I'm going to keep that in the back pocket for positivity because I haven't been positive really about that the run game at all. But I'm going to keep that for a little bit. Positivity is that McVay knows that defense better than a lot of other guys in the league.
From the Rams standpoint, I would guess that the highlight of the day for them was what Cam Akers was able to do. Meaning, you heard the stories from the broadcast. We followed the Cam Akers saga during the season as far as Cam, was disgruntled. He didn't want to be there anymore. He said he's played his last game for the Rams. McVay said he has played his last game for the Rams, and they couldn't trade him. They offered him to almost every team in the NFL, and nobody was interested in Cam Akers, even though he's young and he was a star player in college and was a big part of the Rams winning that Super Bowl less than a year ago. That Cam Akers had the best game that he's had in over a year. I mean, 19 carries, 123 yards. He was very effective. So for the Rams, if they're still interested in trading Cam Akers, I think he showed a lot of teams that he'd be a valuable asset, which would benefit the Rams who are looking for, draft picks to get back on track, whether the talk is trading Jalen Ramsey or Cam Akers or any of these guys that they might have to kind of turn things around and kind of refresh that roster. Nobody wants to lose by 21 points, but for them, they have some tape of a guy that they couldn't trade before that maybe they can trade now. Again, I'm with you guys, though. To average 6.5 yards a carry in the NFL is ridiculous. I mean, Eckler, of course, averaged 12.2 yards a carry. A lot of it had to do with the big touchdown run. But for the Chargers, I am a little concerned. I think, guys, it will get better. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it because I want to see them do better. But, we talked about the stat before that when Joey Bosa is on the field against the run, those yards per carry are cut in half. I mean, he's that big of a help when it comes to being a run-stopping defender. And then I love the energy that the linebackers are playing with right now. And the numbers might not show it, but boy, those guys are hitting and man, they seem energized. And it seems like right now the Chargers are almost in playoff form, where we talk about that level of play, how it goes up, that the Chargers right now look like they couldn't be hotter and more prepared for their next opponent.
Something I'm going to be looking at going into the playoffs is Rashawn Slater. One of the big holes on the Chargers offensive line is left guard. It's actually, I'd say, the only hole right now. Trey Pipkins getting hurt every game is mind-boggling how he somehow gets hurt every game and then comes back the next week. And he's easily the second weakest point on the offensive line. But left guard right now is a giant hole. I'm curious if Rashawn Slater can come back, if Jamari Sawyer can slide over to left guard. That's asking a ton out of a guy that's been playing left tackle the whole season. But if that's something the Chargers can get into the left guard spot, I see the Chargers being able to run, not like they did today, but a lot more than they have all season. Because when you have a guard that's just not blocking, you can't run up the A gap. You can't run to the left side of the field. If they can do that, I think that's going to be a huge positive for the Chargers. I'm really curious to see where Rashawn Slater sits from an injury standpoint.
I really hope that's like a very good surprise we get this week, is that Slater's off IR and he's practicing this week. I'm really just waiting for that little nugget to come out and you're like, okay, here we go. Ball's still rolling. We're still going in the right direction. But maybe that's just a New Year's resolution that's never going to come true. Like, I'm going to get 10,000 steps a day. It's like, yeah, sure you are, buddy. But Chargers are in a great spot. It's honestly, I thought a couple weeks ago, I thought they'd be more in the Jets-Dolphins trajectory with the direction they're going right now, which is just straight down. But I agree with you, Dave. The linebacker position, even Tranquil today, I thought he played a very good game. And he comes down and pops hard. We also didn't have Derwin James, and that there was multiple times this game where I was like, we need a safety to come down and kind of make a play and stop that from being a 6-yard gain to a 10-yard gain. There's 4 yards difference that Derwin James can kind of close on that. So be interesting for that. But yeah, this is so weird. I'm trying to find something like negative to say just because I don't want to be like too positive and too like not delusional, but too like ignoring flaws. But I don't know, guys. Like, I'm not really seeing a lot of flaws today. Besides the run game, I'm not really seeing a lot of flaws in today's game. And what'd you guys think of Herbert's just kind of bounce back game? 2 touchdowns today, clean as ever. And I think he threw that touchdown pass to Everett. I think that was 120 miles per hour coming at that dude. I think it was the fastest fastball I've ever seen.
It was, Justin Herbert looked fantastic. And for me, I'll give you the one negative for me in the whole game. For me, as a fan of any team, I don't care what sport it is, I'd like to see teams basically punching in the mouth first. And the fact that they didn't score in the first quarter bothered me. And I was like, man, I'd like to see them somehow basically set the tone for the way the game's going to go. Now, man, they completely turned that around in the second quarter. They set the tone. They come up with 17 points in the second quarter after scoring 0 in the first. And then, Mara, you sent out a tweet, of course. We've talked about this forever. It's been since week 5 that the Chargers have scored a touchdown in the third quarter. Well, they did it today. And so, right away, they do nothing in the first, and then they come up with 24 total points in the second and third quarter. Fantastic. But, again, it's one of those things where it doesn't cost you. But I was saying, as a fan, I would love to see them set the tone. I'm sure every football coach would say the same thing. We want to set the tone early. We want to kind of get them to hang their heads and go, man, it's going to be a long afternoon. The Chargers made it a long afternoon for the Rams. And even though they finished with 31, they easily could have scored, I think in the 40s if they would have kept Justin Herbert and kept attacking. It wasn't the kind of game you do it. I thought pulling Justin Herbert for Chase Daniel made all the sense in the world. Why take a chance of getting him hurt? The game's basically in hand. You don't have to worry about it. But you're absolutely right. And when Justin Herbert was so effective, just right in front of me, he threw 7 receptions by Mike Williams, 5 for Keenan, 4 for Eckler, 3 for Gerald Everett, 2 to your guy DeAndre Carter. Roundtree even caught a pass. Parham caught a pass and a touchdown. Joshua Kelly caught a pass. Joshua Palmer didn't catch anything. So you got, 8 different receivers? I think I just counted right there. 8 different receivers on his way to having a fantastic day. 21 of 28, 212 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, which is extremely important. A quarterback rating of almost 120. Man, Justin Herbert looked as good as any quarterback in the league today.
I think the most underrated part of Justin Herbert's game is how many people he gets involved. Phillip Rivers, my favorite quarterback of all time, he was great at getting everybody involved. Peyton Manning was known for that. Tom Brady does that. Patrick Mahomes does that. A lot of these great quarterbacks get a lot of guys involved to make them feel like they're part of the game plan. That's one of the big strengths of the Chargers. I'm with you, though, Dave. Playing from behind is not going to work against Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. You got to punch these guys in the mouth. And I think that's something the Chargers need to work on. But there's not many negatives, man. We try to be realistic on this show, and the Chargers are really playing well. We have 2 legit number 1 receivers. Mike Williams today, honest to God, looks like a top receiver in the NFL, and he's supposed to be our number 2, catching everything with one hand. He was ridiculous. I'm pretty sure I'm the guy that picked him as my player of the game, but it's okay. But going back to Justin Herbert, man, he honestly looks better than ever. I'd like him to roll out more in the future in the playoff games. Obviously, these games, you don't want him to get hurt, so you want to be safe. But going into the playoffs, I'd like to see him move out of the pocket and throw on the run because that's another one of his big strengths.
They didn't have an answer for Williams. Ramsey didn't have an answer. No one had an answer. How physical he is with a jump ball. Like you said, it's not a 50-50 ball with Mike Williams. It's a ball he's going to catch. That's just how it is.
100%.
And that was just so easily seen today. And guys, we're forgetting, and I made sure I put this in my notes in all caps. I highlighted it. They were out our child, our favorite receiver. Michael Bandy wasn't out there today. It sucks. He could have gotten a little TD pass today. So I really missed him. He was our guy. But no, you guys have all mentioned, like, that's something Phillip Rivers did well. Manning did well. Brady did well. They all spread the wealth. And the fact that Herbert's doing that at such a young age does prove more to the point that he is at that top tier of QBs in this league. I loved everything I saw from him today. And I wish he got maybe a little bit more passing yards for, just gambling purposes. But, hey, we'll live with it. 21 of 28, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns.
What was the number? Now I'm dying to know. What was the over-under on Herbert's passing yards?
It was really high. It was like, I think it was 269.5, and then I got a different number at 225. But I was just fade everything on my betting card. You might as well just light it on fire and throw it away. I should have just run the check to the bank and said, here you go. It's a pointless weekend. But what did I always say? if you're having a bad gambling day, your team has to win, or your fantasy team has to win.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're 2 for 3. I'll take the 2 for 3. I'll take the 2 for 3. Just no door dashing this week, and that's okay.
All right, a couple things you guys brought up. Both of you guys brought up as far as hitting the receivers and meaning getting everybody involved. And Josh, you played the position of quarterback. I always say the reason this is important, what Phillip Rivers does, what Justin Herbert did right here today, it's important because it gets guys to give 100% to every route. And I know to maybe the audience, they don't understand that. But, man, receivers and cornerbacks have the biggest egos on every football team. And it's always every receiver's like, I was open. And every cornerback believes, you can't throw on me. We've seen it for years. It's not hyperbole. It actually happens. In the locker room, if you had to pick friends to hang out with, you would not hang out with the receivers or the cornerbacks. They're the biggest pain in the rears out of anybody there. It's the offensive linemen you'd hang out with. Am I right, Josh? Those 100%. Are the guys would be your guys. Those are the fun guys that you'd hang out with because they're thinking team first. But when you get everybody involved the way Justin Herbert always does, those guys are given 100% on every single route because there's a chance that ball is coming to them. Justin Herbert's not a one-read quarterback, and most quarterbacks in the NFL aren't. So you go, hey, you know what? If I give 100%, there's a good chance I'm going to get a ball. But if you're going to sit there and not give 100% because you're thinking every ball is going Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, it's not going to basically end up being successful for you as a team. And at the same time, it creates dissension in the locker room. So it's one of those things, man. Justin Herbert does a lot of things that aren't talked about, and yet the guy's a tremendous talent under the age of 25. It's only going to get better from here. And Mario, I'm going to ask you, since Josh patted himself on the back, let's go over who we picked as our players of the week, because I'm still going to stand with my guy, and I'm sure you're going to stand with your guy. Go over the numbers. So he had Mike Williams, 7 receptions, 94 yards. Josh had but he was flashy doing it. 2 one-handed catches. Who was your player of the game, Mario?
I think mine was Herbert.
It
21-28. Yeah, 200.
Which should be illegal. We can't pick Herbert.
Oh,
right?
Oh, okay.
Dude, come on. You can't pick the quarterback.
I said before.
Going forward.
He had like 2 back-to-back games where he didn't play that well, and he's catching some heat. So I was like, I bet he's gonna have a good game today.
All right. I'll give you that. Okay,
if it helps, my defensive player did nothing today.
Who did you have?
I think Mac. I had Mac, and he had like 1 pressure. I counted 1 pressure. I don't know what other people counted, but I had 1 pressure.
Yeah. You're like PFF, dude.
Yeah,
you had a pressure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on the phone with them constantly. Going, Collinsworth, what'd you get there? I'll tell you why I got big guy, but I need to know what you got first.
That is funny. All right, so you had Herbert again. He had Mike Williams. I had Austin Eckler. I think my guy's the player of the game.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
for sure.
No doubt. Right?
Yeah.
10 carries, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ended up catching 4 balls for 39 yards. I think I got that one. My defensive guy, I can't remember who I chose. Did I choose Mac also? I can't remember who I chose as my guy.
No,
I think
Bosa.
I did choose Bosa. Bosa in the eject squad. He had 2 tackles, but one of them was awesome. I don't know if you guys caught it at the end of the game. We came around the end and tackled. I think it was Akers behind the line of scrimmage. There was a minus 1 or for no gain at all. But I did. I picked Bosa. Now I could sit there and talk you into it, but he didn't do jack squat. Who was your defensive player of the game, Josh?
I believe it was Drew Tranquil.
Yeah, there you go. You won that one. He had 9 total tackles right there. Led the team in tackles, 2 for loss.
He should have made the Pro Bowl, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Am I crazy on that one?
He went to a small school, and so nobody wants to give him credit. Right?
Yeah, he went to Notre Dame.
Hey, technically, that is a small school. Technically, it's not a big enrollment. Yeah. And they don't wear their class rings all the time either.
How many, just off topic, because Mario's in Indiana, how often do you meet someone that was a Notre Dame alum?
A lot. So my girlfriend's family, like a whole side went to Notre Dame. So it's, I told you guys this. It was very fun, like hearing doctor. And it's just Mario Heron, sports media, gambling. You want a parlay? It's Paul University.
You walk into the house, is Rudy just playing on a loop nonstop? Oh my God. That's too damn funny. All right, so I just want to jump ahead, and I know we're going to talk about this game a lot coming up, but the Chargers take on the Denver Broncos, last game of the season in Denver, and the Broncos, I was like, this is perfect. You're going to face a Bronco team that's a disaster. They already fired their head coach. Russell Wilson's a mess. Russell Wilson's like, hey, I wish I would have played better for Hackett. This is horrible. They can't score any points. All of a sudden, guys, the game today, man, the Broncos had a chance to win that game. And I'm going, man, this Bronco team looks a little bit different, whether they're energized because it's a new coach or it's because the Chiefs always play games that are within 3 points. It kind of made me a little bit nervous watching that game. You guys, we talk about finishing hot going into the postseason. Are you guys nervous at all about this game against the Broncos next week?
I'm not nervous about the actual game. I am nervous about what you just said, not going out on a high note. The Broncos did look tremendously better today. I wish today was the last game of the season, how good the Chargers looked. But yeah, playing the Broncos next week is not ideal for the fact that the Chargers aren't going to lay down. They want to beat the Broncos. They hate the Broncos. But I don't know how much the starters play. If you were Brandon Staley, I don't know who you put in for how long.
I feel like that could honestly maybe go for the same for the Broncos. What does playing Russell Wilson do for you in this game? What does Sutton? Oh, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say, Dave?
No. I'm listening to what you're saying. I go ahead, finish what you're saying, and I'll jump on it. Go ahead.
So that's just kind of my thing is like, how much are you gonna have Russell play? How much are you gonna have Sutton play? Like how are those guys gonna see a lot of reps? I think so too. The Broncos thing was a little of. I feel like sometimes when coaches first get laid off and the next game, those players kind of have a little extra juice in them. And then that first game back, they have a little extra fire. And then the next week, that fire just got the hurricane on it. And it's just completely out. And I could see that happening. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like, Irsay's like, you guys all called me an idiot and everything like that. He's like, I'm secretly a genius. And you're like, no, you're still an idiot. It's crazy. So I think that's a little bit what's going to happen here is like, yeah, you played the Chiefs tough. You can make a strong argument the Chiefs kind of overlooked you. They're like the Chiefs are, we don't really have to prepare. So I think, one, they kind of caught the Chiefs off guard. They got a little bump from, Hackett's no longer here. Let's go out there and ball out. You have nothing to lose. But now it's week 18 in a really long season that you just want to forget about. Are you going to play our guys? What's our future looking like? And the new ownership is going to be super aggressive in trying to figure out what the problem is. So I'm worried about this game because I really do want the Chargers to move up and take that 5th spot. But at the same time, like a part of me really struggles to see the Denver getting up and wanting to beat LA. And plus, like, how loud's Mile High going to be? Like, who's going to go to that game?
So here's the deal. I think the players, obviously, you're not only playing for tape and a job in the NFL next year, you're Russell Wilson. You want to finish on a high note. If I'm the Broncos, I'm 100% playing Russell Wilson the whole game. I mean, there's no point in sitting him out. He has not figured out this entire season. He has not found that groove that it makes a successful quarterback successful. Gets paid a ton of money. I mean, if I was Russell Wilson, I definitely would not be living in Denver during the offseason. I got to get out. I mean, everywhere I go, people are going to talk trash to my family. There's no way you can feel comfortable in Denver when everyone is so excited to have you. And then when that draft comes around and you realize your team doesn't even have a first-round pick because you traded it away also for Russell Wilson, I try and get that win. If I'm the Broncos, I finish on a high note in front of my fan base. I give them a reason to say this is why you're going to buy season tickets next year. This is why you still wear your gear and wear it with pride. If I'm the Chargers, same thing, though. I don't take a chance going into the postseason coming off a loss. A loss is a loss, and you can sit there and explain to everyone, well, that was because Chase was quarterback. Look, man, let's do what we do and then score points, get victories. Let's go ahead and go into the postseason with a 5-game winning streak and make it so, hey, we've never felt better about ourselves. Getting on that plane, going back home to practice for a week after a loss stinks. And it's inside your division. Josh, you say it all the time. What team in the AFC West do you hate the most? The Denver Broncos. Yep. And why give them one? Forget that. Make it hurt. The Broncos have done it to the Chargers for years when it wasn't the Chargers' year. Make it hurt. Say your last game, when you think about the 2022 season, you're going to remember not only was it a disaster, we basically put the nail in the coffin on you guys and made it hurt that much more. Run up the score. Do whatever you can to make it hurt against Denver. And, Yeah, I'm concerned about Keenan Allen and some of these other guys who you really don't want to see get hurt or get hurt. I don't know. I just think, guys, we know it's a physical sport, and at the same time, you can't play the game thinking guys are going to get hurt.
Okay, you're Brandon Staley going into next week. What's your game plan? How much do you play the guys? What do you do?
I'm playing them just like I did against the Rams today. I'm doing the same.
The whole game.
The whole game. And again, we know that they can change playoff spots, right? We know if the Ravens drop 1 or 2 games that they can change spots on who they're going to face, meaning that it's a difference of facing the Ravens. Facing the Bengals or facing Jacksonville or Tennessee. And why would you take a chance of hurting yourself by not taking care of your own business?
I get what you're saying, but dude, if somebody got hurt, your job has to be on the line. Like let's say Justin Herbert gets hurt in the fourth quarter against the Broncos. You have to get fired. You have to get fired if you're Brandon Staley. There's no way you're playing Justin Herbert in the fourth quarter.
Then why play him at all? I mean, what if he got hurt in the first quarter? You wouldn't play him next week at all? You'd sit him
I would start
him.
I would start him and play the first half. And that would be it. I'm not risking it, dude. Weird things happen against the Broncos, and you know that. You've been watching this 80 years longer than I have. Every time the Chargers play the Broncos, weird things happen. Ed Hockley, that wasn't weird. Screwed us out of the playoffs. You remember that?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Sorry for taking a dig at your age, but you know what I mean.
I'm not 100, dude. What the hell?
But hey, my point is the weirdest things, and it goes for the Raiders and the Chiefs. Every time they play the Broncos, the weirdest things happen. I'm not risking an injury. That's where I stand.
So I'm gonna take Dave's side. I'm playing him like I'm Rams today, because I really, if I'm Staley, like, your job is safe, but if you go and lose embarrassing in the first round against the Bengals, I don't think you're all that safe anymore. So why not take a shot and go, well, if we went out and the Ravens, who have their backup QB, could lose out, and we go up and I get Jacksonville, who most likely would be Jacksonville. I get Jacksonville again, and I can get my guys in a revenge spot, and this time I'm fully healthy. I'll take that. And I have to go play in Jacksonville? Sure. Give me that crowd. What, of just a bunch of moms on vacation? Give me the crowd. Like, give me that type of home environment. I would play my guys. Plus, we're on a hot streak, and you want to continue that momentum. And I understand the fear of guys getting hurt. And don't get me wrong, would be the most Chargers thing of all time if, like, somehow Herbert got hurt or anything like that. But at the same time, I think you really got to go for that spot if you want to make the second round and make it more of a run. And I think you just gotta play the guys. You gotta continue that high streak, continue rolling with them, and plus beat the living crap out of Denver. Sweep that in the NFC West. Sweep someone. So let's sweep the Broncos and keep it moving. I'm
a momentum guy. In sports, I think momentum is key. And to me, riding that 5-game winning streak, Josh, instead of saying we won 4 of our last 5, I think it's a big deal.
Okay, the Chargers, you don't think they could take care of business in the first half with their starters? Broncos are terrible. You don't think they could get ahead in the first half?
It's the NFL.
When have they done that?
Spreads, all these spreads are always 3.5.
They did it today.
But that was like the first time since against the Texans.
Ever.
Yeah. So that's why I would.
I don't know. Am I? Again, Josh, out of the 3 of us, you're the one to be on a football field last. For me, momentum.
I don't think it means anything.
A big deal.
I think you guys know as much as I do when it comes to that. I'm a big momentum guy too, but I don't know, man. The weirdest things happening against the Broncos. We'll see about this next week after the game if something weird happens, but hopefully I'm wrong. I don't know, man. I just give them a first half, just like in preseason.
Okay. This is a dumb question I'm going to ask you here. Who's most likely to get hurt on the offensive side of the ball out of everybody on the
Herbert.
team? You think he's most likely to get hurt?
The game's in Denver. It's going to be 40 degrees. The weirdest things happen in Denver. I'm telling you right now. If somebody got hurt, it's going to be him.
I think
all right. I think it would be Keenan Allen. It's funny. I think Keenan Allen's most likely to get hurt. Somebody gets hurt. I don't know. Okay, so let me ask you this, Mario. You're the wagering guy. What do you think the point spread's going to be for next Sunday?
Oh, geez. 4, but it comes out at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, because they played Kansas City that tight today. I think I bet it comes out 3.5. maybe less. Maybe 3. I'm gonna guess 3 actually. Give me 3.
I'm gonna go Chargers 6. I think they're gonna set
6.
it at 6. Josh, what do you think the point spread is?
6. I was gonna say 6.
Okay, so I'm just guessing. I mean, I don't know, Mario. You're the guy that looks at these closely. Do you have a Can you find a line on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to right now. I'm
Because
gonna go
am,
with
am
4.
I
I guess
okay?
4.
And my point is on this is there's no guarantees. It's not Alabama playing Colorado. It's the NFL, man. These are all professional football players, and Denver's known for having a good defense. And I don't think anything is a cakewalk. That's why I don't throw Chase in to be my starting quarterback for 75% of the game.
Okay, I said 50% of the game because I said halftime. But the Denver sucks, and I'm not saying it's a cakewalk, but dude, I think the Chargers are good enough because I believe in the Chargers. Unlike you guys, I think the Chargers are good enough in the first half to score enough points where you don't need to play the starters in the second half. Call me crazy for thinking that. The Broncos haven't scored 30 points all season, so I don't know. I thought the backups looked fine today, but I don't know, man. The Rams just played the Broncos. They just kicked the crap out of them. Defense backups look fine against the Rams.
All right, you're a big round tree guy. That's fun.
So
I am. Love Larry.
I do believe if they're up big, let's not. I'm crossing sports, but I call it let's not Thibodeau it. Tom Thibodeau. Let's not do that. Let's not pull him and have Derrick Rose playing when they're up by 25 and screw all my hopes and dreams. So let's not do that. Like if they're up by 20 at any point, pull.
Yeah.
I think there's no time to waste. But if it's within a touchdown, you play them the whole game. I think that. So this is Vegas Insider has the official line has it out. This is obviously not really out yet, but this has Denver -1.5.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but this is obviously this thing's gonna change, so line's gonna be different. But right now, this says 3.5. So all the results says Chargers -3.5. Oh, that's might be for October 18th. But
so okay, so so when you just curious on this, Mar, do they pay? I know you look at the lines on a daily basis. I'm not goofing on you. I'm just saying I know you're aware of what's going on with the lines. Will they wait for the press conference to ask Staley that question for that answer to come out? What's your plan on playing, Herbert or Allen or Eckler, any of those guys, and then the line will change?
Yeah, so sometimes like the line will change if like Staley goes up there and says Mike Williams is not going to play and Keenan Allen's not going to play. That line's going to change right away and it'll lock up and then it'll change. So it'll go from this is a complete guess. I'm not saying this is how much they affect the spread. Again, complete guess. But let's say it's at 3.5, it would go to 4 or 4.5. So, or if they say no, Herbert, I bet Herbert's probably a 2-pointer. Actually, probably more with how bad Chase Daniel looked when he had to step in for that play. So he'd go. It's like 3. So it just depend on that. But usually when it comes to start, this is a line I would expect to change a lot throughout the week with who's going to play on both sides of the ball. Plus, it's a rivalry game. It's so hard to bet a rivalry game. Yeah, as I do that every weekend. But what are you going to do?
I don't know. You look at, and I know we all do the fantasy football or gamble on games. Courtland Sutton's the most frustrating guy in the NFL because Courtland Sutton's always that guy, doubtful, questionable, starting. It's the same damn thing every week with Courtland Sutton. So whatever happens with the Broncos, I'd like to see a win. Again, I love the way the Chargers are playing. All three of us love the way the Chargers are playing. Can't wait for the postseason to begin. Honestly, I think it's important for the mindset that you get on that plane back to LA to prepare for whoever you're going to play the following week in the postseason to be firing in all forms. And I honestly, I still believe, as good as this team was today, winning 31-10 over the Rams, that this team can still get better. They aren't playing perfect, but man, they're moving in that direction to really look like a dangerous team that no one would want to face. I would take the Chargers over the Chiefs. I know you guys have said the same thing. I would take the Chargers over almost every team in the postseason right now. That's how well they're playing on the AFC side. I just think they look that good. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're preparing for the Chargers, what are you concerned about? Which direction are you going if you're a defensive coordinator and saying, I got to stop the Chargers offense? Who are you focusing on?
Austin Eckler. The Chargers offense, 100%. It goes as Austin Eckler goes. Keenan Allen is obviously the difference maker in the pass game because without him, we're super stagnant. But watching Austin Eckler today, I'm so biased. I swear to God, that guy should be in the MVP conversation. He is amazing. He is so freaking good. But if you could get a hold on him like the 49ers did, you're going to win the game. If you don't, you're going to lose the game. Austin Eckler makes that big of a difference. He broke LT's record today, by the way, for most receptions in the season with 101. 101 receptions, dude, as a running back. The guy's unbelievable. I don't know how he walks around during the week. He gets the crap beaten out of him every Sunday. I love the guy. He's the guy you have to focus on. That's my opinion.
He squats like the earth too. So like, he probably takes these hits like this is nothing. Yeah, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I agree. Like, yeah, I take Eckler out of the game because he's if nothing else is there, I have Eckler who's going to somehow make a play. I think on third down, I would do everything I can to remove Keenan Allen from that point. Because as soon as third down, that's all Herbert's looking for is Keenan Allen, and he's somehow wide open right in the middle of the field every single time. So if I'm a defense coordinator, I'm literally saying I don't care, second down, first down, let him have his day. But on third down, that son of a gun's not sound a little southern right there. That son of a gun's not even going to come close to the football. I don't want him near it. We're going to take him out of the way. Herbert's going to have to find someone else to do that. I think that's how you do it. And speaking of this too, they were pretty good in the red zone today.
Yeah.
I was like marking it down, like, that my biggest frustration is kind of the red zone play calling and the red zone efficiency. So I'm like, dude, when you're there, just score. It's just, come on. But today they were pretty good at that. So yeah, if I'm defense coordinator, Keenan Allen, third down, see it. But everything else, it's hard. It's a hard team to game plan against right now. I wouldn't want to.
Okay, that's my point right there. Eckler, by the way, I believe has 38 touchdowns in his last 32 games. I mean, just crazy numbers right there.
Insane.
So if you focus on Eckler and you're saying we're going to dare Justin Herbert to beat us with his arm, I think the Chargers are fine with that. Eckler, as good of a game as he played today, remember, he only ran the ball 10 times. Only had 10 attempts as far as running the ball. I think Roundtree finished with 10 as well, which, didn't feel like it. But again, if you're going to focus on the running back situation, that means, as they say, you have a lot of guys peeking in the backfield, right? What do they always say when a defense gets caught peeking in the backfield? Man, somebody gets open. Somebody makes a mistake. So you can't double team everybody, right? If you're going to focus with Eckler with the front seven and you're going to double team Keenan Allen, and then guess what? You still have the weapons of Mike Williams, who's extremely dangerous, as you guys pointed out at the beginning of the show. Gerald Everett all of a sudden looked like he was a threat again today. Gerald Everett seemed like he disappeared for a good portion of the season. Mm-hmm. Who knows why, but he did. And Joshua Palmer was only targeted one time today. He didn't catch one ball, but we all know he's capable of being a guy. When those guys were hurt, he stepped up and was the number one for a bunch of weeks this season. There's so many different weapons. My point is, as a DC, you might sit there and focus on the top two guys, and then what happens next? I always think of what Bill Belichick says. He goes, we're going to take away what you do best and then dare you to beat us with everything else. And he's always been extremely successful doing it. So if you're saying we're going to take away what you do best, meaning the Chargers, you guys would say that's somehow getting the ball to Eckler. And a lot of times that's a dump off, right? It's a dump off pass. Well, usually you don't look at Justin Herbert as saying his first move is I'm going to look to get the ball to Eckler as soon as the ball is snapped. He's going through his reads. It's a fallback. So do you have faith in Justin Herbert to be the guy is what I'm asking. Is he the guy that can win you playoff games down the line against quality teams because you trust him and trust his decision-making and his arm and everything else?
From everything I've seen during the regular season, yes. But as we all know, the NFL playoffs are a totally different beast, and he hasn't been there. The Chargers are a matchup nightmare, though. Nobody wants to face Justin Herbert. You can talk about the LA Chargers haven't done anything. Well, Justin Herbert hasn't been to the playoffs, like I just said, so you have no idea what's going to happen. As fans, you have to be so excited watching the Chargers head into the playoffs because their pass defense is right there at the top of the league. I mean, really gone under the radar. Chargers are in the conversation for best pass defense in the league. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, they're going to throw the ball. Chargers are a team teams do not want to face. Justin Herbert, though, we don't know what's going to happen. He's the wild card heading into the AFC playoffs. We've all seen these other guys in the playoffs. Justin Herbert's the one guy you haven't.
I think it's what makes you a superstar, not just a star, is how you play in the playoffs. If you take that next step and you are blowing people out of the water, you are a superstar in the NFL. You're no longer a star. You are put in a category above many others. There's a reason why people say you don't want to face Tom Brady in the playoffs or just get him in the playoffs and then see what happens. because he's one of the best and because he always performs at the best moments. We haven't seen that from Herbert yet, but from everything we've seen, agree with you, Josh. Yeah, I have full belief that he can do it, that he can be that. I don't think he will flame out like, cough, cough, Dak Prescott. You go in the playoffs and go, yeah, I'll play against him. Or like Kirk Cousins, like, yeah, give me him. Like that's, I'm fine with that. I think all signs do point to him having big game and having a lot of success in the NFL. I mean, not in the NFL, in the playoffs. And I think it's going to be that next. Yeah, he's a superstar in this league. And yeah, you should fear him every time it comes to late January, early February.
Absolutely. Now I'm excited to see what happens. This is where guys create their legacy. Is postseason football. Let's see what Justin Herbert's legacy is going to be. Guys, we're going to be back in a couple days. And again, a couple things is I want to bring up the question on the next show on have the coordinators and head coach, have they done enough to keep their job heading into the 2023 season? And I know, again, if you follow the Bolt City podcast, we're going to be doing shows year round leading into the draft, everything else, talking about the team through training camp and everything that we're going through. But we'll talk about the coaching situation. Also want to ask you guys not only about Justin Herbert, we'll have a better idea about the playoff picture as well on the next show to figure out what lines up best for the Chargers. But we want to hear from the people that have been great as far as following the show through the podcast. And, of course, even the ones who watch it on YouTube, which is fantastic. If you have a question about the Chargers and moving forward, we want to hear from you, your thoughts as well. Do they bench guys going in the last game of the season? Or do you sit there and play the guys all the way through, keep the momentum going? Everything's open. You can catch us all on Twitter. Of course, you can write the comments into the show as well. But again, we'll be back in a couple days. Chargers win today, 31-10 over the Rams in the big battle for LA, which I told you was a big deal. And even though I've been watching for 80 years, as Josh says, a win's a win. Okay? God dang, that one hurt today, Josh. I'll tell you right now. No, you aren't. It's 22 years longer I've been watching than Josh, but yeah, he's going to pull that move. Go ahead.
Before we go, because Dave has to go to bed because he's got to be in bed by 7.
I got to get the early bird special. Yeah.
Yeah. Just on spread picks, Josh, you're staying in first place, very comfortable. Dave is moving probably into second place, and we don't know what's going on in third place, but it's just 1 week, doesn't really matter. Sometimes you don't have the best of time. Right now, Josh, you went 7-6, just over 50%. Dave, you went 6-7, and we don't gotta say mine. My wallet has said enough.
That's enough right there. All right, we'll be back in a couple days. Again, thanks for listening to the Bolt City podcast. For Josh Palais, Mario Heron, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you in a couple days.